Shabbat Shalom, everyone. And a Freilichen Shushan Purim, a very happy second day of Purim to everyone celebrating. If it's okay with everyone, I'm going to stick with this theme of Purim. I know that we're not in a walled city here in Southfield, but that doesn't mean the celebration has to stop. But I need to start by confessing something, and it's going to be something that's not very popular, but here we go. Until somewhat recently, I was never a really big fan of Purim, which I think is a sacrilegious statement, but I'm going to own it. To me, it never really made a whole lot of sense. Carnivals and costumes and goodie bags, it's fun. It's always a good time, but it never seemed to be all that meaningful. After all, the story of Purim is unfortunately not so unique in our history. If we had a holiday for every time a people or a nation wanted to kill us and we somehow survived, we'd be in a perpetual state of Hallel and feasting, which, now that I'm saying it out loud, doesn't actually sound that bad. Maybe we should look into it. But my point here is that for a long time, I didn't feel the emotional connection to Purim. I didn't feel like this day could hit me in the kishkas, could inspire me, could uncover some depth in my Judaism. Until I was introduced to some different readings, some different interpretations that come from the mystics of our tradition, especially the Hasidic thinkers, who brilliantly parse through that top layer of frivolity and lightheartedness and arrive at an understanding of Purim that transcends the 14th and 15th of Adar and carries a message that I'd argue we should take with us and apply to every single day of our lives. The mystics don't spend too much time thinking about Mordechai or Haman, or even really the story of the Megillah Begadol in general. Rather, they cleave to a single word mentioned in the Megillah and drashed, dissected, and explored initially by the rabbis of the Talmud. And that word is hafuch, upside down. And according to our tradition, that word carries with it a great deal of weight and insight. We play off that theme every year when we put on our costumes and have a few l'chaims. We call the day of Purim itself Yom Hafuch, the upside down day. We imagine ourselves in a world of colors, of celebration, of joy, and of openness. A day when we can get rid of all of our inhibitions, when all of our inhibitions are thrown to the wind and we can just be as ridiculous as we want to be. And here's where the mystics do their magic. And they do so by first quoting a passage from the Gemara in Masechet Pesachim. For anyone who wants to look it up, it is Pesachim 50a, and it tells this incredible story where we read, Ki had Rav Yosef berei de Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi chalash ve'itnagid, Ki Adar amar le avu, Mai chazet ve'amar le, Olam hafuch re'iti, Amar lo, Beni, Olam barur re'ita. There's a story that Rav Yosef, the son of Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi, became ill, and he was about to die. He was about to expire. When he returned to good health, his father said to him, "What did you see when you were about to die?" He said to him, "I saw a world, hafuch. I saw an upside-down world." To which his father replied back to him, "My son, you have seen an olam barur. You have seen a clear world, the world that it actually is, or maybe the way that it actually should be." The world you saw was the clear one, the right one, the one we all need to work on revealing. The profundity, the beauty comes not from the esotericism or the mystical interpretation, because I don't think they're trying to express something beyond our understanding here, but rather from the acknowledgement of the human condition, that the days that are truly hafuch, the days that are truly upside down, the parts of our existence, the times, all of those moments that are actually not correct, are the great majority of the moments of our lives. when the masks and costumes we wear aren't bright, beautiful, and silly, but rather come in the form of suits and ties, of uniforms and badges, labels and formalities that we have somehow decided make this world function and progress towards something. But in reality, the mystics argue, that progress is an illusion. It's a security blanket, a way for us to find routine and habit in our lives in order to avoid the uncomfortable and maybe even painful undertaking of exploring who we are, who we really are, in our hearts and in our souls, and allowing ourselves to be open and vulnerable to build a world based on really seeing one another, understanding one another, and loving one another. And they're right. They're right. It's so much easier in these costumes than the ones we were wearing yesterday and Thursday night. It's so much easier to feel safe from judgment, from the intimidating power of intimacy, from rejection. It's so much easier to be Rabbi Dahlen than to be Yoni, than to be our I with all of its complexity. And it's undeniably easier to keep that complexity to ourselves rather than allowing others to help us figure it out. But if we want to see the Olam Barur, if we want to see the clear world, the world that is right side up, that is capable of the love, the respect, and the dignity that we strive for, and if we want to see it for more than a glimpse every once in a blue moon, then we have to let our Purim selves break free. Not just on Purim, but day in and day out. And the way that we do that is going to sound absolutely terrifying. But I think we can do it, especially here amongst the synagogue family of ours. First, we have to be Purim silly beyond Purim. We have to stop taking ourselves so seriously. We have to allow ourselves to laugh, to sing as loud as we want, even if we can't carry a tune in a burlap sack. To dance whenever we feel like dancing, and to love the goofy parts of who we are. We have to love those parts of us, the silly parts. We have to let them go. We have to let them be free, to breathe. And then when we allow our souls to breathe and our hearts to sing, then we need to keep them open and allow others access to those treasures of ours. And to be sure, this is a vulnerability that comes with great risk. It's exposing. It's trusting. And it opens up the possibility of real pain. It's true. But it also has the power to take our relationships to places that we could never have imagined. Places where we can become connected to one another in the cosmic way that, according to the rabbis, has the power to turn our upside down world right side up. Because when we know someone, when we really know someone, when we are entrusted with their dreams, their fears, their pride, their trauma, then we feel a responsibility to that person, a bond to that person, one whose tethers are so tight that they keep us in a constant and loving embrace and trustful perpetuity. In a world so consumed by suspicion, mistrust, and judgment, how radical would it be to open up our hearts, to strip away our layers of armor, and to say, even to those with whom we vehemently disagree, Hineni, here I am, all of me, fears, insecurities, and all. How radical. The greatest accomplishment of human existence isn't technological innovation, it's not scientific knowledge or vast exploration. It's being comfortable in our own skin. It's embracing and loving ourselves in our entirety. And it's allowing others to love us as well. I may not have started out loving Purim, but now I can't think of any day of my life that's not inspired by it. And I suppose it's a bit ironic that on this day of Shushan Purim, when the walled cities celebrate Yom HaFuch, that I'm encouraging us to break those walls down. but a little irony is always appreciated in Judaism, I think. And for that sake, let me say that though we don't make requests to God on Shabbat, other than for prayers of healing, I pray that we ourselves can start breaking down those walls, and that we can do so safely in this incredible congregation of ours, so that we can see one another, really see one another, so that we can fill this world with our true selves, filled with joy and song and celebration, and yes, even with our hang-ups, our baggage, our idiosyncrasies as well. And that we can love one another, not despite our authenticity, but because of it. May our upside-down world be turned right side up, and may this Shabbat be one of an olam barur, one of clarity, of peace, of meaning, and please God, of joy and silliness. Chag Sameach, Shabbat Shalom.